When you're absent, the narcissist doesn't sit there reflecting. They don't feel remorse. They don't wake up. And they certainly don't realize they've lost something valuable. Instead, they act quietly, but with intention. And most of those actions revolve around one single objective: to regain control over you at any cost. In this video, we're going to break down the common behaviors narcissists display the moment you're no longer by their side. Not to fuel your anger or resentment, but to help you stay clear-eyed, so you don't get pulled back into the cycle of manipulation they carefully orchestrate behind your back. From the secrets they hide, to the calculated infidelities, from the excuses they make when caught, to how they'll willingly lower their standards just to secure another source of supply, you'll see clearly they don't love you as a person. They need you as a tool to feed their ego. You'll understand why your silence can cause their inner world to collapse, why they can speak sweet words to your face but smear you behind your back, and why the one thing they cannot tolerate is your refusal to be controlled anymore. Let's take a deeper look at each sign. This isn't just information, it's a warning. A reminder that if you've walked away once, don't return just because of the sugar-coated signals they deliberately plant. 1. Let's begin with the first sign: control through secrecy and deception. When you're absent, the narcissist doesn't sit in silence to reflect or grieve over what has been lost. They don't dwell in regret. They don't honestly reevaluate themselves. And they certainly don't consider the value of what once was. To them, your absence is not a chance to heal or grow. It's the perfect opportunity to reestablish control. They act quietly, but with calculation. And every move they make serves one goal: to pull you back into their web of manipulation. And the most noticeable way they do this is by hiding secrets. These aren't harmless secrets. They are strategic lies, carefully guarded and maintained. Where they go, what they do, who they talk to, all become things you are never meant to fully know. The more secrets they keep, the more powerful they feel, and the easier it becomes to twist situations in their favor when the time comes. Why do they lie? Because every honest answer would force them to take responsibility, something they despise more than anything. Narcissists don't own up to their mistakes. They deflect, justify, and make excuses, but never truly take accountability. Lies are their shield against facing the truth. When you're not around, they're faced with two choices: confront reality or create a new version of it. More often than not, they choose the latter. They fabricate new stories, curate images for others to see. I'm fine. I'm happy. Or worse, I'm in love with someone else now. All of it carefully designed to spark insecurity in you, to make you question yourself, to make you come back. A narcissist fears transparency. They crave control, but reject being controlled. And when they realize you're truly ignoring them, not watching, not asking, not caring about their life, panic sets in. Secrets become irrelevant. Lies lose their power. The manipulation begins to crumble under the weight of your silence. In short, the first sign of a narcissist's behavior in your absence is that they become more secretive, more deceitful, and more desperate to control the narrative you see or hear. Be cautious of sudden life changes, unexpected good news, or apparent glow-ups on their end. More often than not, it's just a thin veil hiding the same old pattern using you, even when you're no longer around. 2. When they realize you've truly left infidelity, a tool to expand their supply, When secrets and lies no longer provoke a reaction from you, the narcissist moves to the next stage seeking a new source of supply. And one of the most common tactics is infidelity. Not because they've found someone better than you, not because you're lacking something they crave, but simply because they're bored. They crave a new sensation. They crave drama. They crave someone they can control just like they once controlled you. A narcissist is unfaithful not because they love someone else, but because they don't truly love anyone. They lack respect for emotional bonds. They don't understand commitment. To them, a partner is a tool, a source of emotional supply, and when that supply begins to dry up, they'll look elsewhere to refill it. What's more troubling is this: they often cheat with someone far less than you in looks, intelligence, personality, and you'll wonder why. Why would they leave a stable, genuine relationship for something so clearly inferior? The answer lies in the illusion of control. With someone new, especially someone easily manipulated, they can reclaim the role of emotional god. They can control, dominate, and manipulate without being questioned. You, on the other hand, the one who's begun to wake up, to question, to resist, have now become a threat. Infidelity, for a narcissist, isn't an escape, it's a strategy, a way to punish you, and at the same time, repair their wounded ego. And if you catch them, what will they do? They won't apologize. They won't feel remorse. They'll justify it. They'll say it was because you were distant, because you were too controlling, or simply, it wasn't betrayal, just a moment of weakness. They don't want forgiveness because they regret it. They want forgiveness so they can repeat it. It's a cycle. And if you're not fully aware, you'll be pulled back into it. Remember, they didn't cheat because you weren't enough. They cheated because they never know what enough is. 3. When they're caught, blame, justification, and distortion of truth. For narcissists, being caught cheating isn't a turning point for change. It's a public relations crisis. They must manage to preserve their image and keep the game going. They don't feel shame. They don't feel remorse. What they truly fear is not your pain, but the moment you finally see through their mask and have the courage to walk away. That's why, once exposed, they immediately deploy their classic 3-step response: blame, justify, and distort. They'll say you made them feel alone, that you were too cold, that you changed without them noticing, and they were just looking for comfort. All of it wrapped in the guise of victimhood, as if they're the one who's been hurt, and the betrayal was merely a consequence of circumstance. This isn't a confession. It's a manipulation designed to make you feel guilty, question your own instincts, and ultimately forgive them. In many cases, they won't even admit they cheated. They'll label it an emotional connection that got out of hand, a moment of weakness, or worse, just your imagination. They will twist the narrative so much that you start wondering whether your anger is even justified. This is classic gaslighting, eroding your trust in your own perception, so you rely entirely on their version of reality. They will avoid honest conversations. They'll exhaust you with circular arguments, making you feel mentally drained and confused. And if you get angry, they'll say you're overreacting, that everyone makes mistakes, and that you lack empathy. Once again, they step into the victim role not to resolve the situation, but to regain control of it. What's most dangerous is how coldly calculated all of this is. They know exactly what they're doing. This isn't a moment of weakness, it's a strategy. And if you accept their excuses, they feel reassured the manipulation still works. The betrayal is no longer a mistake. It becomes a tool to punish you, to test your limits, or to remind you who's still in control. So when you catch them cheating, watch how they respond. Don't just listen to their words. Pay attention to how they try to make you feel guilty. Because in the narcissist's world, mistakes are never their fault. And if you believe that, you'll keep playing the role they wrote for you in a story that was never about love. It was always about control. However, betrayal is not the final move in a narcissist's manipulation strategy. When cheating no longer provokes a reaction, or when you choose to walk away for good without responding the way they hoped you trigger a new phase silent panic. This is no longer about direct attacks or creating drama through someone else. Instead, they begin to spiral into deep insecurity, realizing that your silence is the one thing they cannot control. And that's when their true nature starts to reveal itself more clearly than ever before. 4. When you ignore them, the silent panic begins. Nothing confuses a narcissist more than being completely ignored. As long as you're still angry, arguing, blaming, or trying to explain to them, it's a sign of connection. They're still controlling your emotions. But when you're silent, when you disappear without offering an explanation, when you show no reaction to any of their tricks, that's when true panic sets in. Silence, to a narcissist, is not emptiness. It's a declaration, a signal that you've seen through them, that you've awakened, and that you're refusing to keep playing in the drama they've written. They begin to feel something they deeply fear: powerlessness. They can no longer manipulate your emotions. They can't read your mind. And they have no idea if they still hold any place in your thoughts. To fight against that, they'll do anything to pull you back in. Maybe it's a wrong message sent by accident, a public photo flaunting their new happy life, a message passed through a mutual friend, or even a sudden apology after months of silence. But all of it serves one purpose: to test if you'll still respond. If you react, whether with anger or politeness, they know they still have a chance. If you remain silent, they escalate from sweet to furious, from self-pity to blame. They might launch a smear campaign against you, or, conversely, suddenly praise you as the best person they've ever lost. It's all strategy. The truth is, narcissists cannot bear the feeling of being left behind. To them, it's not about losing a person, it's about losing power. And if you ignore them for too long, they may move on to a new victim, but deep down, the wound festers like a grudge they'll never release. They won't forget you. Not because they loved you, but because you made them lose control. So remember, this silence is not weakness. It is strength. It is an answer without words. And if you find yourself being dragged into one of their emotional games, step back, walk away, and let your silence be the final wall that ends their manipulation. When your silence is no longer a pause but a clear rejection, the narcissist shifts from testing your emotions to reclaiming the power they've lost. At this point, the mask begins to crack, and glimpses of their true self start to emerge. Gone are the subtle tricks or sweet reminders. Now come the extreme reactions, controlling behaviors, and, at times, dangerous tactics, especially when their ego or reputation feels threatened. This leads us to the 5th sign. 5. When hatred rises, the smear campaign begins. When a narcissist fails to win you back with false affection, they turn to their most dangerous weapon, simmering hatred. A narcissist cannot stand losing a game they believed they were always controlling. And if you're the one who dared to walk away, they will not forget. Not because you truly matter to them, but because their ego cannot tolerate being abandoned. The smear campaign usually begins quietly, but it spreads like wildfire. They'll work to stain your reputation behind your back, twisting stories, speaking ill of you to mutual friends, even accusing you of behaviors they themselves committed. The goal is not to win you back, but to destroy the image of you that others may admire and, if possible, to make you doubt your own truth. What makes this even more insidious is that they play the role of the victim. They'll rewrite the story so they appear heartbroken, betrayed, and left behind. They'll cry to mutual contacts, post vague emotional messages on social media, and pretend they loved you deeply, but that you changed. To anyone unaware of the real dynamics, you may appear as the villain because narcissists are master manipulators of empathy. But remember, they're not doing this because you're a bad person. They're doing it because you no longer serve as their supply. And in their world, when something is no longer useful, it must be destroyed. So, if you suddenly hear false rumors about yourself after going no contact, don't rush to react. Don't explain yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. The more you react, the deeper you fall into their trap. What they crave is your emotional instability. They want to see you spiral so you become the one who ruins your own image. The only way to counter it: stay silent. Keep living well. No explanations, no reactions, no emotional outbursts. Because when you don't respond, you drive them insane. You take back the power. And you prove one thing: you've truly stepped out of the toxic cycle they can no longer control. 6. When they go back to an ex, it's not love, it's possession. After failing to regain control over you through lies, manipulations, or smear campaigns, the narcissist doesn't just give up and walk away. Instead, they quickly redirect their attention to a new supply. And more often than not, that next target is an ex. But it's not about love. It's not about longing for a deep emotional connection. It's about proving they still matter. They don't return to love, they return to possess, to prove. I can still make someone come back to me, no matter what I did. To a narcissist, exes are never truly in the past. They view those they've been with as part of their property, something they can come back to whenever they want, as if it's their right. If you've ever seen a narcissist reconnect with someone they previously discarded or disrespected, don't be surprised. That's not a sign of change, it's a sign of calculation. And here's the twist: they often use this reunion as a psychological weapon against you. Maybe they flaunt it on social media. Maybe it's slipped into conversation through mutual friends. Or maybe they accidentally let you see it. The goal: to make you think they've moved on. Or worse, maybe I was the problem. But the reality is, it's just another performance. Another stage to feed their wounded ego. This kind of reunion never lasts, because the ex, if they haven't changed, will soon find themselves trapped in the same toxic loop you escaped. Narcissists don't know how to love. They don't know how to care. They only know how to own. And once there's nothing left to manipulate, they'll move on in search of new supply. So if you ever hear that they've gone back to an ex, don't envy them. And don't grieve. Feel lucky, because you stepped out of a script someone else is now being pulled into. And most importantly, remember that real love doesn't need to be won back, flaunted, or proven. It only needs to be present, honest, and safe. Something a narcissist will never be capable of offering. 7. The narcissist will never truly let you go. Not even after 5 or 10 years. You might think that as time passes, everything will fade. That after 5 years, 10 years, Once both of you have moved on, once they have a new partner, once they've posted happy photos, said their goodbyes, and gone silent long enough, you'll finally be free. But with a narcissist, it never really ends. They don't forget. They don't let go. They simply lie in wait for the right moment. To them, you're not a person. You're a possession they once owned, a source of emotional supply that made them feel powerful, a soul that once trembled in their hands, that loved foolishly, forgave unconditionally, and anything that once belonged to them, they believe it always belongs to them. Even with someone new by their side, the narcissist will still keep part of their mind on you quietly, discreetly, intentionally. They leave subtle breadcrumbs, a sudden message checking in, a cryptic social media post, a random like on an old photo, not because they miss you, but to test, are you still vulnerable? They might return after years, dropping a casual, "Hey, how have you been?" not out of care, but to reopen the door you shut. Because your peace, your silence, your lack of reaction to their absence, that's a loss they can't accept. To a narcissist, closure is a foreign concept. They thrive on possession, and any time that sense of possession is threatened, they'll resurface not to love but to regain control. When you find happiness, they feel betrayed. When you move forward, they'll try to pull you back. Not because they want to be with you, but because they can't stand that you're no longer a character in their script. They may reuse old tricks, regret, apologies, promises of change. But this time, they might opt for something more cunning, pretending to be a civil friend, reaching out through mutual contacts, orchestrating coincidences. They might act like nothing ever happened, slowly inching their way back into your mind with the familiar comfort that once softened you. And when you refuse, when you shut the door on them once again, they'll switch tactics, destruction. They'll smear your name, undermine your credibility, plant seeds of doubt among those around you, play the victim so others turn against you. They cannot stand to see you succeed without them, to heal without their permission. You see, a narcissist never truly lets you go, not because you matter, but because you were once the emotional battery that powered their ego. You once gave them control over your emotions, cried for them, bent over backwards for a relationship that was never healthy, and that gave them power. Losing you isn't about losing love, it's about losing the sense that they were the center of your universe. Know this even when they're with someone new, building a life, playing the happy partner. You might still be the emotional archive they revisit when they need a boost to their ego. Time doesn't make them forget, it only gives them space to plan. But you, reading this now, no longer have to be pulled back into that cycle. You're not the same person. No longer naive, easily forgiving, or softened by late-night messages. You no longer live to regulate someone else's emotions, you are learning to live for yourself. The truth is you can't stop them from coming back, but you can refuse to answer. You can hold your boundaries. You can recognize that their return isn't about love, it's a tactic. And most importantly, you can choose not to react. Because that's the one thing a narcissist can't stand: the cold indifference of someone who is awakened. 5 years, 10 years. No matter how many partners they have, they will still try to pull you back. But this time, you are ready to say no. 8. The brutal truth: you are the failure they cannot accept. When a narcissist sees you thriving without them, it's more than disappointment. It's a direct blow to the illusion of power they so carefully constructed. Because in their internal script, you were never supposed to outgrow them. You were never meant to be happy, whole, or free unless it happened under their control. with their permission. You are living proof of something they cannot bear to face, that they weren't important enough to break someone forever. And that shatters their ego. They believed you'd never love anyone the way you loved them, that you'd cling to the memories, waiting for them to return as the savior. But when you not only survive but live better, deeper, more confidently, you become what they hate most, evidence of their own failure. They don't understand that real love doesn't need to be fought for, bled for, or won like a trophy. They only understand one thing that gives them a sense of worth: the collapse of someone under their influence. And when you don't collapse, they become confused, then angry, then obsessed. You become an unresolved question in their mind. Why doesn't he, she need me anymore? And they can't accept the answer. You've grown, you've healed, and you're no longer the version of yourself they could manipulate. So they cling to the old narrative that you're just pretending to be strong, that deep down you're still weak, still waiting for them to come back. They watch, analyze, and construct wild theories just to preserve the illusion that they still matter. Worse, they may attempt to disrupt your peace, not because they want you, but because they can't stand that you no longer want them. They'll try to inject chaos, plant seeds of doubt, make you question yourself, question whether you're truly okay. Because if you really are okay, genuinely okay, then their entire existence becomes irrelevant. No one left to control, no one left to rescue, no one left to validate their identity as someone special. That's their deepest fear, not loneliness, but the fact that you no longer think about them in your solitude. And you know what? You, the one who dared to rise, to cut ties, to heal, are their long-term nightmare. Because you've done the one thing they never believed you had the strength to do: let go completely. That's why they haven't let go of you, not because of love, but because you are the imperfect ending to a story they believed they were entitled to write. And it is you, through your silence, your light, your unshakable self-worth, who has completely shattered that illusion. When you walk away from a narcissist, what they lose first isn't you, it's their control over you. In your absence, they will relentlessly try to reclaim that lost power by smearing your name, playing the victim, twisting the narrative to manipulate how others see you, all for one simple reason: your departure forces them to confront their own emptiness. But remember this: your silence is not a void, it's a declaration. A declaration that you are no longer easily manipulated, that you have awakened, that you choose inner peace over the endless cycle of pain. No matter what they do behind closed doors, no matter how many false versions of your story they spread, you don't need to correct any of it. Your life, your healing, and the light you now carry are the only evidence you'll ever need. Because in the end, the one thing a narcissist always does in your absence is prove you were right to leave. If you're on the path to recovery, don't look back. Don't trade your freedom for the illusion of being understood by someone who never intended to understand you. Keep going, keep healing. And if this video resonated with you, don't forget to subscribe, because you deserve to walk alongside those who truly see your worth. Because peace after the storm begins with the courage to walk away.